Welcome back to The Watch. And, alright, Spider-Man No Way Home. Whoa, okay. We saw it, we went, and they didn't bar Oz at the gates and deny him entry.
Well, they tried to. They tried to. They said, "Sir, you're too fat to fit through the door." And I'm like, "I can fit. Just get the popcorn butter and just grease me up."
So I have a feeling. No, it's not. I know I'm going to have controversial views about this film.
I feel like I might too, which is rare for me.
Rare for you. And so what we want to do in breaking down this review, it's going to be big spoiler discussion. So warning straight away. But though the early part might not be spoilers, because I do want to talk about what some of the overall, response is to the film, and we'll just go right into that, and then we're going to go into things we liked, things we didn't like, and the things that we didn't like, I'm actually going to break down into three different categories. Three different categories. One. Problems with the film that I feel are objective and you can't deny it, that's just blanket on the face. Second are problems that I really had with the film that I feel are quite clear but can be argued against through a different interpretation. And I've had a good long debate with people who have loved the film.
Who are these people?
Well, they'll come out in their own review and they'll be able to see. But anyway, I probably wouldn't end up mentioning who they are anyway, because, look, it was a really good discussion. And so I want to acknowledge some of the different views or interpretation of the scenes, why some people might not nearly have much of an issue with them as I did. And then lastly, the things that I didn't like, which are wholly subjective based on my own bias and background, because I love the Spider-Man comics. And that has tarnished my enjoyment of the MCU Spider-Man in a couple of ways that I'd like to talk about as well, because it's affected other people who really loved Spider-Man on top of that.
And somewhere in there, me and Nathan might get to put our...
Might chime in occasionally.
In all those categories, you guys get to sit.
No, so it's just when you were laying it out, you're like, in this section, I'm going to say this. In this section, I'm going to say this. In this section, I'm going to say this.
You guys can just leave. I'll just keep going.
All right, let's go. Sound good. See you, Shad.
All right. So, what have you guys been noticing? Have you talked with anyone online or regards about the film?
I've been on Twitter.
You've been on Twitter.
People are loving it.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
I spoiled it to my friends and told them what happened, and they hated it. They said that's stupid. That's
really?
a stupid thing. I don't like it.
So far, this is almost getting near universal praise.
Yep.
Just to be upfront, I wanted to like the film, and there are many things in the film that I did enjoy, and we'll talk about that first and foremost, but overall, I did not like the film as a whole. In fact, I disliked it rather surprisingly.
I really hate it.
You really hate it?
Look, there are some good things.
Yeah?
But I really hate it. On the whole of it, I really hate it. On the whole, right? But there's some individual parts. Again, it's the... holy crap. Dude, chocolate chip turd is real. Chocolate chip turd is real.
Sorry, that's an analogy that Oz thought was terrible, and now you know.
It works. We've used it more than once.
I'm the one that came up with the chocolate chip turd.
It was me.
Are we really going to do this?
Yes, we are, because it's on video.
No, it is on video.
Nathan.
I can't remember.
Chocolate chip turd. What video was it?
It was in one of our Wheel of Time discussions, episode 5.
I came up with the chocolate chip turd. It was me. We'll go back and watch.
We're going to discuss this.
You keep doing it. Like, this is my idea.
We have other things to talk about. We're going to discuss
this. Fine.
Holy crap. Okay, Nathan.
I still feel very uneasy about it. I don't think I hate it or dislike it, but going into it and coming away, it just felt I feel very heavy.
Why is that?
Part of me wants to like it, and I know the things in it. I'm like, oh, younger me would love this, but I don't know if it's my Night's Watch brain going off. But I'm just like, this just doesn't.
We're corrupting him.
It's like I'm eating it. I'm like, I taste the chocolate chips, but there's also something else in here. I don't know what it is yet.
And so. This is not to throw any type of shame or shade or anything that likes this film, because this is the type of film that, I'm happy that this film exists, for one.
Yeah.
And look, even though I didn't like it, and I would even say that I consider it bad, but look, I'm glad people enjoy it, and I wouldn't say, for me, it's nowhere near offensively bad. For instance, there's it can't really ruin Spider-Man how great it is because there's so much Spider-Man content. This is different to Wheel of Time, where that's the introduction people have to the thing.
We're talking about it's just another turning of the wheel.
I didn't really see any propaganda or pushing a message or anything like that.
I did.
You did?
So a whole lot of it.
All right. Well,
as I have with each of the Spider-Man movies.
Okay. I want you to bring it out and let us know when we're into the criticisms of it.
Okay.
But Oz, help us remember. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't really notice too much of that, and so for me, this is an inoffensive film, and if people are enjoying it, that's brilliant. I'm glad that they are. I did not. And so we're not trying to convince you to dislike it, but we are going to be discussing our opinions on it and pointing out some pretty blatant stuff that affects my judgment of the film overall. So that's the general consensus, and it's weird with how much I dislike. I was actually a bit surprised at how much people are enjoying it, but
I think it's going to go the way.
I need to rephrase that. There were people who I thought would be more critical of it who are liking it. That's what surprised me. But
who, Shad? Who?
No.
We're not going to
because
we're going to name names.
Then there are the larger group of fans that I did predict this, and I'm just loving it. And I think this film is going to do astronomically well, and primarily because of the fan service moments, but also I think they are going to get caught up in certain emotional beats. But there was one review, and it was from Jeremy Jahns that I watched, right, that actually pointed out one of the big issues I had, but it was a non-spoiler review, so I didn't point it out exactly, but it was about the tonal inconsistency that sometimes, he says sometimes, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact words, but something had emotional weight, and he thought that needed more time to dwell, and it's like, oh no, we're doing the jokey thing afterwards, and we'll talk about the specifics, because now we're going to get into the full spoilers, okay, we're going to go on the positive, what we liked first.
Okay.
And then go into the criticisms. So, Nathan, do you want to kick us off on what you liked most? And spoilers now.
Yeah, now spoilers.
That's smart. Get through the vegetables first.
What?
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, just because you sit there so quietly and never speak up.
Yeah,
like,
I'm the mute one, aren't I? That's what people say. No, I liked the fan service. With the villains.
Well, I agree. I think this is, a lot of it is fan service done right. It didn't feel disingenuous, except for one big fan service moment.
Yeah.
It was when Daredevil appears.
That felt forced for you? It was forced when he went away.
To me, he literally is just like a token appearance that does nothing in the story or anything. It's just there he is. And the thing is, I'm glad they're acknowledging him in the film, but I love the character so much. It's like, don't tease me with him. And then he disappears, and I'm like, and as a result, it was more disappointing. But
I forgot about him.
Yeah, Matt Murdock we're talking about.
Yeah. No, I remember him appearing and me being like, oh, was he going to do something cool? But no, obviously he just comes in. Okay, yeah, that I think is crappy fan service. But I think the villains, they did very well. They felt true to their characters. I felt emotionally connected to them, not through nostalgia, but also for the story as well.
They represented those characters well.
They did really good. So I give them respects to that, because they
felt true to who they were.
They could have done it so much worse.
Well, really?
Completely disagree.
Okay.
Completely.
Why?
Okay, so Electro is completely different from how he was.
Yeah. All right.
Not just in like how he looked, but persona as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you that, yes.
Doc Ock was less of like, if you watch the Spider-Man 2 again, you should, because it's a great movie.
I have recently, yeah.
Right? He's literally like, he's more snarky. He's not so, we grow tired of your questions, Spider-Man. I'm sick of you. I'm angry. He's not like that at all. In original Spider-Man 2, he's like, oh, Peter Parker and the girlfriend. Takes him.
Okay.
He's much more sinister.
Look, I see what you're saying. I'm kind of looking at Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. They felt true to who they were from the original films. They're drawing
Tobey Maguire slowed down a bit. He used to be like, so
he's aged. He's aged.
Some other things have taken effect too.
I just felt so old when he stepped through the portal and he's like, hey guys. I'm like, oh, he's aged. And that means I have too. It's a bit scary.
Andrew Garfield just looked top of his game.
Straight off the sequel,
exactly.
Spider-Man just came through. Oh, hey guys!
He was great. That's the one I really liked.
I want a Amazing Spider-Man 3 from that.
Yeah. He deserves one.
I think this is where I have some conflict, right? Because one of the things that I enjoyed most about the film also made me dislike it even more.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that the things I enjoyed most were the things that were not in the MCU Spider-Man.
Yep.
And was just reminding me how deficient for me, because I liked the first MCU Spider-Man, so Homecoming. Yep. I did not like Far From Home, and this one I was willing to give an honest shot, and it really missed the mark for me. And so I'm seeing all these other interpretations of Spider-Man with great villains and characters and things, and I'm really enjoying them. But I had this analogy that I shared with you guys. The effect of it in the film was like when I looked at the MCU Spider-Man now, it's like I had a crappy burger from McDonald's and someone was eating a beautiful steak right next to me, and it was just pointing out how poor this burger really is. And you could enjoy the burger on its own, but when you see the contrast in your face so much, it just really made the deficiencies in the MCU Spider-Man come out even more. And we're going to talk about specifics, because I'm not saying this, hollowly. I have reasons for my... And if you like it, that's fine. And some of it does come down to your interpretation of certain actions, but for me, the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man comes off really negatively in this film, with only one exception that Maul was able to point out to me, and he's enjoyed the film, was at the very end, and I was like, okay, I could grant you that. That's a good way of viewing the scene. I had such a negative taste in my mouth that I didn't even see it that way, because the character... Anyway, I'll get to the specifics later on. But it's interesting how one of the things I enjoyed did actually contextualize my dissatisfaction with so many other things, but I really did enjoy seeing Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. That was a heck of a lot of fun. It felt genuine. It was for the fans. I appreciate that they did that. And I also, one of my favorite parts, probably more in them than the Spider-Mans, was Green Goblin, William Dafoe.
Great again.
Well, he was just
You can't
awesome.
beat Willem Dafoe.
Just on a lot of levels. What a truly sinister, manipulative villain that really, he's the one that hits the heroes where it hurts.
Just that part, right? That one part that summed him up perfectly is when he's getting in that first fight scene with Spider-Man, and he's just Spider-Man's just laying into him, and he's just staring up at him, laughing in his face. I was like, dude, that's Green Goblin! Yes! That was awesome. That was like Heath Ledger, Joker getting beaten and just laughing.
And I feel like Goblin had a lot more depth in this than he did in the first Spider-Man movie.
I disagree.
Because I think in the for me, maybe it's just my childhood brain.
Yeah.
There was him, Norman Osborn being Norman Osborn, and then when he was in the suit, then he was Goblin. But with this one, he felt more grounded and real in the fact that he was trying to struggle with.
You should
Green
rewatch
Goblin.
Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, because I know there were elements of it, but I feel like
in original Spider-Man 1, it's a lot more of a blending of characters. There's the good side to him, who's weak against the Goblin and just capitulates to him. But then there's times where it goes in between when he's dealing with his family. Yeah, well, not when he fights it.
When he
literally lets it come over him.
Yeah.
That's why it does actually slowly change him to being evil.
Yeah,
because he actually gives up to it basically. We got to rewatch these movies just so you guys can see.
Was there any other things that you guys liked in the film?
I liked that line. I'm something of a scientist myself. I like memes. That was done well. I like that one.
But some of the other stuff I wasn't as. It felt very forced.
Like what?
I can't think of any right now, but one thing I did like, which is an obvious spoiler, which is that Aunt May dies.
So you like that?
I liked that.
I think it added a huge amount of emotional weight. I despise their execution and the follow through on it. Maybe just because people were like, what if they really like it? And shut, how dare you? I have reasons, and the reasons is that I think it could have been such a powerful moment and actually helped push this character through a really important arc and actually learn something that might stick this time, because supposedly he's learnt that, he has his powers and that means that he should do something well with him. That was established in Civil War. He says it to Tony Stark, and then he doesn't learn the lesson properly in and then he relearns it in Homecoming, where he has the powers, even though Tony told him not to do anything, and he's trying to help stuff things up in that movie, but then he finds that the Vulture is going to do something evil again, and he doesn't have the special spider suit, but he goes and does it anyway because he has to do the right thing. I think that would have been the moment where he learnt it, and I agree that film was really well done. And then he seems to have forgotten that message completely in Far From Home, where Nick Fury comes to him and says, "We have a serious problem. Lives are at stake," and he's like, "Oh, I want to go on a holiday." He came off so petulant, childish, and selfish. And it happens multiple times throughout the whole film. Is just like, I just want to be with my girlfriend, hook up with her, and not do the right thing. Where that distaste of that depiction, right, also got compounded by the fact that I love classic Spider-Man, and I know how classic Spider-Man would respond. He would look at, the thing that he wants to do, but knows that's never going to be an option. Sometimes it would really push him to make the decision, but he's got to help. And if he heard something really bad happening, far from just saying, oh, I don't want to, he would be the one trying to encourage Nick Fury to let him join. And Nick Fury would be like, you're too inexperienced, but no, I can help. I've got the power. I got to do it. He'll be pushing to help.
Yeah.
And it was such a flip. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then supposedly he goes through that whole process to learn to, all right, you got the powers to do it. And guess what? In this film, he has to relearn it all again, and it's still being selfish, and it's all about him, and all the problems that being Spider-Man is causing him, and I like the fact that he is acknowledging it's affecting, MJ and his friend, who I can't even remember the name because Ned. Okay, good. I liked that, but it always seems like that's the more important thing, and that even when Doctor Strange says we've got an issue, he's like, oh, but my friend's just going to get a second chance at MIT. We've got to do that. Where look, I understand that is, you have your own life to deal with, but classic Spider-Man would always be going to help, right?
Well, look at what they did with the first Spider-Man. There's a lot of it in all the movies except for the last one, where he's trying to balance his life as well as his life as Spider-Man, and he just can't do it because he has to be Spider-Man. And then with the second one, they don't really do that because it's already done before, right? And then with this one, they're trying to do that, but they make him come off as a whiny baby who doesn't want the responsibility.
This character is, well, I'm going to shelve that for when we really dive into the things that we dislike, because there's one other thing that I want to acknowledge that at first I wasn't on board with, but I think I might be turning around as I reconsider, and it's the fact that it seems like they are attempting to mold this immature kid who has made so many dumb mistakes again and again and again. Like, most of the major problems that happen in Far From Home, he causes because of his short-sighted, naivety, dumb decisions. Like, he gives the glasses away, he sends his attack drones onto one of his, classmates and almost kills them and stuff, and he's making so many really bad decisions. Okay, and so it seems like they understand that and they're trying to mold this character into the classic Spider-Man. That's what it feels like they were trying to do with the purpose of this film, because at the end, there's that moment where supposedly he does make the big sacrifice where everyone forgets me. I'm willing for everyone to forget me, even Mary Jane this time, so we could save the universe. I have massive issues with how that magic is supposed to be working.
It's
and
Michelle Jones.
Right. MJ. But that, Doctor Strange magic is just... Anyway, like I said, shelving that, we're coming back to it. But that it seems like they're trying to make him into a better Spider-Man. And I do like the fact that at the end, he doesn't have the Iron Man suit, he's on his own, and is choosing to do good. And there's that final last scene where he is with MJ, and because again, I was watching this film, I was getting annoyed with it, and then when I was watching, I didn't see this, right? Because it felt like he's such an idiot all the time. He's always making dumb decisions. And that he had the script and he was saying, hi, MJ, we've known each other for a long time. I forget the exact words, but it's basically going to be saying, we've known each other forever. And then he goes to say it, and I kind of was getting the impression that he realizes this is really dumb. It's not going to work. I'm going to have to play the long game. Yep. Did you interpret it that way?
Yeah. And that's what I was like, oh, he's maturing. He's learning a little bit. He didn't make a dumb decision that time.
And so you think that he's fully intending to still hook up with Mary Jane?
Oh, yeah. And he's going to be...
See, that was my impression. I thought he was never going to... Not Mary Jane. She's not Mary Jane. She's MJ. That his full intent was to still try and have a relationship with MJ. Where people who really like the film have interpreted that to mean, no, he's actually letting her go.
That's what I thought too.
That you thought that?
That
he's choosing to step away because being close to him is putting people at risk and is doing the noble thing. And look, when someone says that if you look at it this way, I can see that is what's being said in that scene. And if that's the case, that is a noble thing that is finally choosing and is not being selfish. But it's at the very end. And I have such a bad taste in my mouth because it's failed in some really distinct points in the other parts. But I can acknowledge it's okay. They're trying to push that way. The movie ends on a bit of an interesting positive note that... no one, knows who he is anymore, and is still being Spider-Man, and now he is literally on his own. And but to me, that's like saying, "See, we know we did badly.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do a better one. Hope to see you there, after I had to put up with
Three
this
other movies,
movie backstory of Spider-Man not being Spider-Man properly. And when I say that, yes, there is a standard of the character based on what he's supposed to be interpreted from. But I can acknowledge that's there as well. All right, so now we are going to go into the problems that we have within it. And if you love the film and you don't like people ragging on something you like, you're more than happy to leave, all right? I'm glad you enjoyed it. Really happy it is. I'm happy that, lots of fans are getting a movie that they love. I didn't like it. We're going to explain why.
And I think this movie is meant to be fun. Like, it's not meant to be a very big brain movie. It was kind of...
See, I think it was trying to for that.
I think with
failed.
Doctor Strange, but I think they realised that.
I think it was trying to do some really heavy emotional lifting and character progression, and it failed dramatically, especially with that they decided to do the Aunt May death in this film.
Yeah.
To me, that is such a significant moment for this character's progression. You needed a whole movie dedicated to that. And yes, we are getting to the criticisms now. And the whole multiverse, bringing in the other Peter Parkers and stuff, massively distracted from a very important character story that we needed to bring this character where he was. Because not only does it literally distract from it, the very next scene after Aunt May dies, I'm feeling this emotional weight like, holy crap. There needs to be time given for the audience to process it, for the character to process everything like that. But the very next scene is the introduction to the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, is this comedic kind of funny. And it was comedic funny, but it was so out of place for what just happened.
They should have got the Aunt May's death as well as the resetting everyone's memory and put that all at the end. That way, the emotional weight of that would be...
something that the film ended on, and helping him contextualise his actions.
And then it makes more sense for him to immediately try to kill Green Goblin.
This is one that people have interpreted differently, and I've been debating with people about it. I really did not like how they handled it. I felt after the discussion on the rooftop, suddenly it's like Aunt May didn't die at all, up right until the confrontation with Green Goblin, then it finally comes back. But he is quipping, he's joking, he's doing all this stuff, and there are fun... And look, that's annoying. There are fun conversations about... I love that they had Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, natural web fluid come up, and they're like, what?
And like, how does it work? I don't know. It just does.
Just like, does it come out?
I mean, you're
of
a
any
scientist.
other
I would
places?
kind of do a scan or something, trying to figure out, does it shoot from anywhere else?
I just loved that. And so that was a legitimately fun moment, but it was put in one of the worst places you could in the film, where this is... Peter Parker just lost Aunt May. He would be devastated. Like he's going to care about someone's web fluid in their head. Aunt May died an hour ago. Again, this is one of the interpreted ones that people are, trying to argue differently. So maybe, again, we'll shelve it. We'll come to the more ones that you can argue more. And I want to just go straight to the objective, almost inarguable, massive problems with this film. And the big one, and to me, the entire plot of the film is structured on this. And it's the whole thing with Doctor Strange's magic and the spell.
Yep.
It is bafflingly dumb, does not make sense. It ruins Doctor Strange's magic and the contextualization, how it applies to the MCU. They will... Think about the scale of this spell. This isn't just erasing everyone's memory. Like, what about all the video recordings of Spider-Man being Spider-Man and that him being Peter Parker that's everywhere, and the newspaper's written records? Like, he is altering reality on an insane scale, and he doesn't need to build up to the magic. He doesn't need to get crazy out of his like, I'll just cast the spell. What? Like, Doctor Strange basically can then destroy reality. And the next thing that I hate about this... Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, it's crazy that he can make a spell that literally just resets the last movie we just had.
Yeah.
They just undid the sequel, basically.
But the thing is, though, one thing I did like is that the spell didn't work initially. The thing is, though, I hate what it... The ramifications. I thought at this point... Ramifications. I was expecting everyone's memory to be wiped at that point from the trailer, but it didn't work, and Doctor Strange tried to shut it down. I was like, oh, good. Expectations averted in a good way. Maybe there's going to be something interesting. But seriously, this is where I really don't like. What connection is there from erasing people's memories to alternate dimensions? Why would that spell have any effect on opening up alternate dimensions? Now, there's another Spider-Man movie, funnily enough, that deals with alternate dimensions.
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
And they use science, not magic.
And he was literally trying to go to another dimension, and then that experiment failed. Like, it makes sense when this experiment fails, it could affect the fabric of, realities and the barriers between it, because that's what its intention was! How can a spell that's erasing people's memory suddenly break down all reality and there's barriers between dimensions? It doesn't make sense! There's no through line in that logic.
I don't get it either.
Exactly, but they wanted the plot to happen, so just reasons. This spell, because it failed, somehow is breaking down dimensions, and the explanation they give it also really damages the logical structure of this plot. It's that you were trying to erase people's memory. Instead of doing that, people who know who Spider-Man is from other areas in the multiverse are coming in. That's not the how. Like, no, there's no connection to the spell of erasing memories that would draw in people from other dimensions. Why? What reason does that have to affect other dimensions?
You know what? I actually thought, Shad, on the morning drive here, because I was thinking about this and I was like, doesn't make any sense. But this is my conspiracy theory, and doesn't explain much, but it could be what they used to explain.
Come on, dude. Conspiracy theories, really?
I think this movie lines up with both the Loki TV show and with WandaVision. And I think with those two other events happening, somehow the multiverse is getting meddled with.
Well, see, they have previous, reason to explain. And it could have, this is one of those plot holes that I find really annoying because it undermines the entire plot of the film. The film is, everything that happens is based on this mechanic, right?
Yeah.
That it might have been able to fix somehow, is that maybe it didn't have anything to do with the spell. Just like, he was trying to cast a really big spell, right, that was going to affect the... it was a massive spell. It's going to affect reality of the entire this entire universe and reality. And they could say, because the multiverse was breaking apart in the events of Loki, that the structure of a universe was fragile, and because he was this spell was going to affect the entire universe, that actually somehow. But I think there's a more through line to explain this, that the universe couldn't sustain it because it was already struggling with the problem with the barriers, and then because there was a potential breakdown of parallel dimensions, and this universe, the MC universe, got shaken up by the spell, those spells suddenly connected.
Yeah, but even then, that's you guys going into a whole bunch of different things.
I know, but
nothing within the movie.
Exactly.
You're right. This is us trying to fix it for it, and maybe they could have fixed it with a line where it said, Doctor Strange says, "This shouldn't have happened. There must be something affecting the multiverse." But why would a spell about memory affect the multiverse? And then it's because we're affecting reality on a full scale, and the universe was already weakened.
Wow,
that would have at least
contrived.
It's still contrived. I would admit this is still, but at least it's better than.
I'd say it's less contrived than the MCU one.
They just this happens because reasons.
Yeah.
And so, okay, let's just go. But we'll go along with it. Doctor Strange's magic is off the wall, and he can destroy reality. The magic doesn't make sense for what it's doing, and then they try and explain it that somehow the spell, the reverse happened, that it's now, instead of erasing people's memories, it's drawing people in. I'm pretty sure that was the explanation.
Everyone
who has that memory. So then, how the hell did Venom appear in the universe in the after credits scene?
Exactly, because so I watched the end scene.
I didn't realize that.
I watched the after credits scene of Venom 2.
Yeah.
And in Venom 2, have you seen the after credits?
Yeah, where he's like, I will show you the information, and then something happens like, I didn't do that thing.
Yeah, and he's in the new universe, and then it shows the ad. So he's not even from that universe. That's so confusing, man. Mm-hmm. So for anyone who doesn't know, right, there's the Morbius trailer, which shows off Falcon. Not Falcon, what's his name again?
Vulture.
A different type of bird.
In the Morbius
Morbius universe.
Yeah, so in the trailer, you see... look, is he playing Falcon, or is he just the same
Falcon.
actor playing another
Falcon.
character? Is he?
He's Falcon. And then there's Morbius, who says, "I am Venom," as a reference to Venom, right? So are they not in the same universe, or what?
I don't know.
Because Venom went into the Spider-Man universe and then he left. So,
and so the villains that appeared, did every one of them know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Every single Sandman? Did
What's
the
his
Lizard?
name?
The Lizard might have.
No.
Yeah.
Electro didn't.
I see that, or Electro, yeah.
Didn't, yeah, and Sandman didn't.
Yeah.
So
Sandman did.
Okay, confirm in the chat, because I was wondering. Hang on, I thought, and Electro was the one as well that I was thinking. Did Electro know Spider-Man?
Electro didn't know. No. He didn't know Peter Parker.
No, he wanted to be Spider-Man. Yeah, I needed.
He met Spider-Man, but he didn't know
the villains
that
are all people who knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
except for Electro.
Except for Electro.
So the reason that they're giving of how this spell is supposedly working doesn't seem to be and
They made a lot of mistakes
Also,
in this movie.
and
if
it's people that knows Peter Parker,
wouldn't it be like Mary Jane and Aunt May?
Exactly. Why is it
Harry
only the
Osborn?
villains alone? Like this logic is not playing out
Unless if they're just chilling.
Yeah,
somewhere.
they're just drinking a coffee somewhere else because they're not causing a storm. But it would have been good if they'd actually even nodded just briefly that, yeah, there are other people that got drawn in based on this bullcrap reason that you're just pulling out of thin air. Because they know Spider-Man is, they'll be drawn in, then the spell shouldn't be affecting dimensions or whatever.
Like all the people on the train that saw Spider-Man's face.
They just don't come
They're
in.
sitting there now. Dude, tell you what, if I was a person from 2005 and I came to now, I'd want to go back.
Well, that's the other weird thing about this spell. Why... How does the timelines match up?
Doesn't.
I think
Because you would think, all right, if these are parallel realities, okay, and it's drawing in people from other parallel realities, or draw it in from the parallel timeline, because you'd think the timeline of these other realities would have been moving forward at the same time. Tobey Maguire is a lot older, obviously, than Willem Dafoe or Doc Ock, and it's clearly established that these are people being pulled out from different time periods of these other timelines. Why? Like, the most intuitive reason to try and explain people being pulled in from other parallel dimensions would be being pulled in from the concurrent time frame that this reality is moving from. You assume that both dimensions are moving forward, parallel in the same time period going forward.
It didn't make any sense.
I mean, at least they they talk about it with Doc Ock being freaked out that Goblin's alive.
Yeah, and let alone...
Wait, that's a mistake too. No one knew that he was Green Goblin.
Or did he?
No one knew.
No one knew?
Because he said as he died to
Don't
Peter,
tell
don't tell
Harry.
Harry. And so he took the stuff off him,
It
put
dressed
in the thing.
him.
Yeah, it wasn't
so no
in the
one knew
news.
it was...
So I can't remember though, in this film, if Doc Ock admits that he knew who Green Goblin was, or he first
Because
watched...
he mentions it
He
like
said
he
it was on the
died from
news.
his glider. So unless if Spider-Man came out... But then...
Yeah,
no.
why would he say it was pretty much established in the film? Because doesn't he... What? How did he know he got killed on the glider? Because he takes Norman Osborn's body and delivers it back
And
to
it's not like
Harry
Peter Parker-
without the suit on. They just assume Spider-Man had killed Norman Osborn for some reason, and that's why Harry hated him.
Yep. Not just that, but Tobey Maguire Spider-Man says, "My friend died in my arms after he tried to kill me." That's not what happened. He died in his arms after trying to save him, after literally sacrificing his life to save him.
Okay, now I've got more issues with this movie.
See, it's like I'm the only one that remembers the old Spider-Man movies.
Well, I hadn't watched them.
Like, the guys who made this film didn't
Yeah,
remember.
they did not
Like,
remember.
you'd think we're bringing these other characters. It might be worth rewatching the films
Yeah.
just to get the timeline straight.
Another issue, they all died by their own hands, basically, right? All of them. Except for Sandman didn't die, neither did Lizard.
Okay, so I've had a debate about this, and people
Yeah.
have been trying to defend it. I think this one is more indefensible about, like, what guarantee did Peter, like Tom Holland Spider-Man, have that sending these villains back, cured from their thing, would not still lead to their deaths?
It would still lead to the death of Electro and Doc Ock. Because Doc Ock, he said, I had my arm around Spider-Man's throat at the end of Spider-Man 2, just before he gets turned to the good side, right? And then he was in that world. So you're telling me that when he gets, he comes
brought back
good,
and is a good guy
he's
now.
gonna go destroy the machine.
He's
and
just
still
going
die.
to let the machine destroy New York City, so his death is still going to be basically
It's still going to happen.
guaranteed.
Yeah. Same thing with Electro. He was dying at the time.
Do we know that? Well, because he was connected to the power conduit, so curing him of his
He'll just become a regular guy and get fried by the machine.
And then, what about Green Goblin? What point did he remember? What point he got pulled out of his timeline?
Well, he knew who Spider-Man was, and so it would have been after Thanksgiving. This is how well I remember this movie. It was after Thanksgiving, but before he kidnapped MJ.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe after he had attacked Aunt May, who knows?
On the way.
Yeah. I was on my way to attack your ant.
She's dead.
I prefer the ant from this universe.
And the logic is they all died fighting Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So therefore, if we can cure them of their evil, they won't fight Spider-Man and therefore won't die. Really? I mean, you might want to check the exact time in which they're getting returned to their timelines like Electro, because that doesn't seem to work.
And if you can change that, then you said, you basically destroy New York in the Doc Ock universe. You know?
That's the other, like doing these changes and then injecting them back into their universe is going to change the timelines of those universes drastically, which could lead to... They're trying to do it to save these people's lives, but that could lead to the deaths of millions.
Yep.
They're not considering or thinking this out logically at all. They're just taking it on assumption. Yeah. We can cure them. Now look, I actually liked the part where Peter Parker's like, we can't kill them. That's murder. And
it's not murder though. It's their own choice.
There's a more complex discussion that can be had.
It's not even complex.
I find it interesting. Because this thing, this is I feel the true moral outcome, right? They knew that taking them out of the universe didn't affect the universes. Why? Because if Green Goblin was taken out of that timeline, Doc Ock wouldn't have remembered all the things. Green Goblin just disappeared. And so clearly his timeline was completely preserved, even though Green Goblin was taken out of that same universe.
Well, clearly not, because he somehow knew that Green Goblin was Norman Osborn.
Well, there's those weird things, okay. But even Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, right? He comes from a timeline in which it all played out the same, with Doc Ock and Green Goblin, and therefore taking Doc Ock and Green Goblin out of those timelines didn't affect his timeline either, and so you don't need to repair those timelines. They're obviously perfectly intact still. The moral thing to do is, there are so many issues here. Do you see why I have an issue with this film?
Well, dude, because you're trying to clear it up for them when they didn't think about this.
Well, I have such a problem with him letting them out of their cages and taking him to an apartment with innocent people where Aunt May is, where they shock horror. These are psychopaths. They do go crazy. And
that just felt so dumb to me.
It felt astronomically dumb. I couldn't believe it.
Not just the fact what he did, but how it all felt in the scene.
I want to talk about the reasons why people can see it's justified. I still don't. I think any reasons does not outweigh the insane risk. He literally saw Doc Ock and Green Goblin murdering people on a bridge, okay? I don't care if this guy is playing all innocent. That just means, holy crap, he has a split personality disorder and he could flick back to the crazy one at any time. We gotta be really careful about this and keep him in that cell, because letting him out would be unbelievably dumb. And holding the box saying, we can press the button, send you back every time, what would be the tip-off that you need to press the button? Him turning and doing something really bad. And maybe that turning could be the action of killing someone, and it'll be too late to press the button before you see, it's like... That is not a gun to their head at all. In actual fact, they send it away, so it requires a phone call to get them. And shock horror, it doesn't work because of how dumb the setup is, and they don't use the button to press it back. And then he's still, even after Aunt May's dead, it's like, we can't, this is where you actually have to balance out the cost of each one. People have already died. Aunt May has died because I've been trying to save their lives. More people might die, and there's a very good chance because they're free now.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the point where, because why didn't you just press the button then? But no, we're still going to try and save their lives after they've murdered people and they're free. It's like, all right, because man, we just keep finding more and more problems when we talk about this.
Can I talk about the stuff that I saw in there?
Yeah, but I want to finish off the topic we're on, which is the time travel thing. Okay, because I was trying to say the most moral, the best choice they had in that situation is they don't need to be sent back to their universes because their universes are fine without him. Doctor Strange was trying to say did he establish that they need to be sent back to repair the rifts?
Otherwise more will keep coming, yes, he said that.
Okay, that's the only reason then, really. It's an arbitrary reason. People have slipped through. Why does sending them back... Do they have a connection with the old universe? That's keeping the rifts open? He said that
if they don't go back, then more will come.
More will come. See, that would then be the only reason, because if they could somehow find a way to fix the tears in reality, keep him in this universe...
That would have been good.
And then you would have these great villains in this universe, right? That's what I thought they were going for. Hopefully find a cure for them or, and then they'll realise that it's a futile thing with some of these people and you probably should keep them locked up. So anyway, that I felt would have been the best option and try and find a way to fix it. But no, you just can't, because reasons. That's what we want the plot to do.
Yep.
They're going to attract more people from these other realities. We've got to send them back. And if that's still the case where, especially after they break free and are killing people, it's like, yeah, press the button, send them back.
Yep.
Not doing that. And just think about the property damage that he was like. Why did he choose the Empire State Building?
Sorry, it wasn't the Empire State. It was
No, I mean the Statue of Liberty. Why there? Maybe pick a place that has less property damage.
An open field.
No, the real question is, why did the filmmakers pick the Statue of Liberty? That's the real
Captain
question.
America's shield.
Yeah, and then it fell down all symbolic like.
Yeah. You know, the more I think about this movie, the more I realise just Into the Spider-Verse was such a good movie.
Such a better movie.
I want to watch that now, because the time travel.
So the whole magic thing is horrible, and that's the thing that this entire plot is built upon. And so if you're trying to say this is a good film, the very mechanic that's propelling the plot and causing the plot is broken. That means the film is broken. You can't escape that. That's subjective right there. Okay? And it's just horrible. Doctor Strange, he just... Well, look, we'll get into some other examples, because him being locked away, his reasoning and his reappearance and stuff, and... You had something that you wanted to talk about.
I think this whole movie is an allegory for asylum seekers.
I disagree.
Why?
Because the actual message was trying to make it okay. Well, they weren't trying to keep him there anymore, were they?
They said,
I
if
think
we
that's
send them
reading
back,
too
they'll
much.
die.
All right, so these are
and then Doctor Strange said, but if we keep them here, more will keep coming. And the final fight took place at the Statue of Liberty, which is what the... You know about the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
Give me you're hungry, give me you're tired. You haven't seen...
Look, not gonna lie, Oz, that's very...
I don't...
We have to send them back. No, we can't send them back. We have a responsibility to help them.
But they are trying to send them back. That's the ultimate takeaway. They weren't trying to keep him there.
They're trying to rehabilitate. That's why this movie falls apart. But they do say over and over again, we have a responsibility to help them. But if we bring them in, then more will keep coming. I'm just saying, they openly say this over and over again.
I don't see it. Let us know in the comments what you think.
Shad, after seeing all this stuff you've seen in Wheel of Time, you still doubt me?
With this one, I'm not there with you. I'm not sure.
There's tons of work stuff in this.
All right, where are the other examples?
Okay, so pretty much all of the Spider-Men were emasculated. We're going to talk about our feelings and cry all the time. Aunt May's going to stand up to Big Bad Goblin while Peter Parker just can't do anything.
No, I think they did justice to the other Spider-Man.
No, completely disagree.
And I think they did so much justice that they robbed MCU Spider-Man of some very important character progression.
Do you honestly think, if you're a superhero and you just meet another superhero who had a bad thing happen to him, right? You're like, yeah, man, that happened to me too, man.
Well,
I mean, if it's you from another universe.
They're trying to help him, and they're drawing on their joint experiences and past.
Yeah, I know, but again, they just are so emasculated. It's like, look at Iron Man. It's like, oh yeah, says to a kid, oh yeah, my dad left 6 years ago, never came back. Oh yeah, happens, dude. Dads be like that. By the way, get me a sandwich. You know?
Look, I didn't see that with the Spider-Man, but you're our resident, you know.
I'm just sick of seeing all of these heroes like break down crying and having a therapy session with the camera.
Spider-Man has always been an emotional kind of character.
I feel it's in line with all of them.
That's in line with all of the Peter Parkers. But I tell you what, the one that I feel is way too whiny, in certain instances, is Tom Holland, okay? But in this one, I don't think you were like... But especially based on what was previously established about this character, he is not processing Aunt May's death nearly with the weight that I thought this would be impacting him.
Yeah, they should have saved it to the end.
Have a conversation, and then I get... All right, there is a serious situation. You need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and do what's right. But then he's quipping and joking, and he would just be like an emotional husk, you would think, for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
And even people trying to cheer him up, he would do what needs to be done if it's real, but basically his mum just died a few hours ago. I can't believe it.
Well, I mean, look at what happened with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Uncle Ben died in front of him. He started tearing up, and then he heard the sirens, and he's like, okay, I got a job to do. And then after that, they had the morning sequence.
But see, when he had the job to do, it's not like he's joking around.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he was pissed. He was angry.
Every way he was behaving was being contextualized in the context of what happened to Uncle Ben. Yeah. In this one, it's like Aunt May was forgotten. And it gave me, like, tonal whiplash in the... I was like, what's...
Yeah. Especially when he's just back to joking and...
and talking about web shooters and other things like that, and... it was... All right, so... The next massive objective thing that you can't argue against in terms of the failure of this film is actually far more important to the plot. It's the mechanics that, or literally, it's the plot devices they build to defeat the bad guys.
Yeah.
So first, they had some level of justification. I think it's too convenient, and I think that what is it, like a mechanic machinery or a crafting bench or whatever.
What was it called? Materializer or something?
Stock manufacturer.
Yes.
Stock fabricator.
Fabricator.
Yeah.
Right? It can make anything. Like anything. It can just 3D print metal components and make like,
food.
I understand if it already had, you know, to me, I thought it was like a suit making maybe something that would, because he made his suit in the previous film and that it still felt like over the top. You know, he could make anything.
Holograms and just.
Like maybe it's a design computing machine with very little, but it can now do anything already. That was too convenient, but at least they gave them something to try and make, right? But guess what? That machine gets destroyed. Electro literally grabs the power source out of it, okay? And so, no machine. It's gone out of the movie. You're not making that back. And now when the other Spider-Man come in and they got to defeat him, they make some insanely complex both technology and genetic, you know, material cures for, like, insanity Green Goblin juice in a high school science lab.
And the one that they made using the Stark tech didn't work.
Such bullcrap.
Yeah, but the one they made using the Stark tech didn't work. So they used the science lab.
And then they try and justify it, like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man's like, I've been thinking about this for a while. Why? I mean, both Green Goblin and Harry Osborn is dead. Like, I don't think dedicating years of research for a cure for them is going to do any good.
Also, when you make things, you don't always make it right the first time.
Exactly.
And so, and they make it in like hours?
Yeah, a couple of hours with equipment they found in a high school science room. I'm not kidding. Right? And we're talking about some of the most complex genetic science in the world.
Did all that happen in the same night?
Yeah. It's like, holy crap! Hope Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is around when the Coof came because he could come up with a cure. Because that would be less complex than coming up with a cure for a Green Goblin juice. Are you kidding? That's the level of suspension of disbelief the movie is expecting the audience to have. They are making something vastly more complex than the cure for something that has affected the world and took vast, big corporations and companies however much amount of money to develop something that...
What, you say a cure?
Not necessarily. They developed something and we'll end it there.
Yeah.
And let's just say the thing that it was made to fix is still around. But anyway...
Because they openly say it's not a cure.
But, like, yeah, they just make something vastly more complex in a high school science lab in a couple of hours. That's not the only thing.
Well,
they, like, make an anti-particle accelerator thing to cure
which they could have deployed at any time.
Yeah, exactly. How hard was that to just get close to it and press a button?
They were literally surrounded by him multiple times.
They need to fight. I was watching like, oh, come on. And this is giving the character the plot device, the very plot devices to defeat the bad guys.
They needed to get him inside the Statue of Liberty so they can redo the Spider-Man 3 stuff.
Seriously. And you could have actually made something that perhaps might have worked. Did Happy have another machine or something like that? Or... Maybe
another machine that fabricates things.
But seriously,
no, a science lab in a high school is more realistic. Okay, Chad?
But they have access to Happy. Like, I think that machine wouldn't have done just. They need a full-on lab with all this equipment. But guess what? I wonder who might have access to something like that.
Stark Industries.
And who's Happy? Like, it's just like this massive plot hole was so unnecessary when there was so easily fixed. Like, all right, let's pull our bootstraps, we need to fix something. Where do we get the equipment? I know a guy. Change scene. Done.
Nope.
Nope.
Science lab in a high school, because you can make anything there.
It is objectively ridiculous. It's just like... And it undermines, you know, the investment of the film, the enjoyment, and I don't think this is nitpick. This is like the very things that they used to defeat the bad guys was done through that. Alright.
I can't wait for when they do Ironheart. And it's Riri, and she's in high school, and she makes everything using a high school science lab.
Yeah, she doesn't. She makes an Iron Man suit just with in the back.
If Tony Stark can do it in a cave, she can do it in a high school lab. She does it in woodworking class.
Does she? No.
I'm betting she does.
Must be like not woodworking.
Metalwork, Oz. Metalwork.
Metalwork, yeah.
All right, so I have
Jewelry
other
crafts.
issues, big issues with the film, but this is ones that having the fun debates with people who do like the film, really tried to push back on it. I want to acknowledge the alternate arguments and stuff. Okay, and so one of my biggest issues, and we've already addressed it, but now we'll talk about some of the defenses for this.
Gosh, how many drinks do you need? Oz.
It's exponential.
That's not good for
It can't
you.
be stopped. It's self-sustaining now.
No.
Okay. So actually, before we go into the defense of the scenes I didn't like, I do want to talk about some of the things that people really like. Some of the things that they love is Peter Parker's arc. They thought it was a great progression of learning, great power comes great responsibility, and that the other Spider-Men there were really important in helping him overcome the grief of Aunt May. They felt that enough time was given to that and that development. I really do not. And I wonder if that, is that we're just interpreting it differently? But seriously, if I try and break down the chronology of events, I do not see nearly enough time or justification for Peter to, basically forget about it. And it's like he forgot
I also
about
felt
it.
the scene as well. Like, half the time I didn't know. I was like, she got hit, and I was like, oh, she's gonna die. Good. Finally,
then she
she's
gets
gonna...
up.
And then she gets up, and they walk a bit, she lays down. Like,
Well-
I was really confused with that scene as well.
When she got hit by the glider, I thought that was instant death.
Yeah,
I was
same.
surprised she got up. I was like...
The
and-
glider crashed through a building and then hit her.
I'm like, how is she getting up? I was like, amazing. And it's like, oh, she's just... but then she did die, and I think that's why I didn't bring her, because at least she still died from something.
Yeah, I
but
just
that
feel like-
really should have been that's instant death. If you see that how serious she got hit by it.
The
It
thing
felt like
hit
plot
Norman
armor.
Osborn at that speed and killed him. And he has superpowers.
Yeah, so, that scene as well didn't fit well with me, because it didn't have the emotional impact I thought it was going to have initially.
It did have some impact.
They really loved the ending that, this is Spider-Man finally learning the thing. They
Learning what?
learning great power comes and then choosing to not pursue Mary Jane. They and look, that one I can acknowledge that there's a valid interpretation for that. I didn't see it because of how dumb Peter Parker's been. I hate how dumb he is. Yet one of the big defenses is that it's perfectly in line with a teenager. It's like,
Tobey Maguire was a teenager. Well, he wasn't. He was like 25.
But the thing is that this is a more mature, realistic take of a teenager becoming a superhero, and that it makes sense for a teenager to be naive and make dumb mistakes. And to me, Peter Parker isn't just making dumb mistakes. He's making uniquely dumb mistakes that are far beyond even a regular teenager. I wasn't that friggin' stupid when I was young. His age.
And I feel like Peter, he kind of has that step above other teenagers, that he has that responsibility.
And it's
And he's
supposed to be
learned from
smart.
superheroes.
He's learned.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you think he would have learned the lesson
Yeah.
previously.
Like,
Keeps
the
forgetting it.
Avengers movies might have learned something about being selfless, but no.
And I think how selfish and stupid this Peter Parker is, to me, it's indefensible. And I had a big debate about it, and they're trying to bring examples. I'm like,
With who?
hey, no, guys, I really respect, and I think it's going to be really great to see. But they love the film, and I'm glad that they do. Okay,
To the people who did that Shad is talking about, who won't be named, you were the chosen one. So that you would destroy the bad writing.
Come on, because there are movies that they legitimately really hate objectively that I love. Okay, and they don't rag on me because I've got a different take. And so,
Yeah, okay. But this person's supposed to agree with me.
No, they're not. And this is the great thing is that, we got into it. We were, raising our voice, come on, what are you looking at?
He said it was a bad dream, that it felt like fan fiction.
Coming out of it, yeah.
Well, talking about the film, but yeah, I'm talking about the debate I had. And we're raising our voices, we're arguing and stuff, and we're still mates afterwards. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we can totally, drastically disagree on a piece of media. And guess what? No one's a bad person for disliking something. Okay?
Yeah.
We all and I really did appreciate seeing their perspective. And that's one of the things that I do want to bring up about I don't think I'm going to be really doing justice for their takes. I'm going to try and present it, but I'm obviously skewed by my bias because I do not see it the same way.
Yeah.
And this isn't me trying to bring up their arguments. Because it feels like I might even be straw manning him and not representing it properly, and then arguing against it. This is why I disagree against a straw man. That's not fair. So I will try and at least acknowledge some of these other viewpoints and stuff. And so they felt that these films were a great origin story of Peter Parker becoming a man, and that it was really consistent all throughout, and that his decisions were wholly justified and stuff. And I can agree that a lot of his character has been consistent, but I see it as consistently stupid.
Yeah, same here.
And consistently weak and
He keeps
selfish.
He keeps forgetting his lessons. Keeps forgetting him.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the entire world, like, forgets who he is.
Now, what's interesting, when I was discussing with Smaller, he would go through, no, this was the specific lesson that he learned in that movie, and I can't remember what he was saying exactly.
Wait,
and then the next
I thought we weren't naming who we were talking about.
No, I've mentioned that, I've been discussing this with Smaller and Fringy and JXE and stuff, and it was a great discussion.
What did they all think? Did they all like it?
They liked it. Well, actually, Mauler I know liked it. Fringy certainly did. Jay was just getting in the conversation, but I don't remember saying anything definitive. But by context, it felt like he really liked it.
I know what Rags thinks. I know what Rags thinks. What does Rags think?
He'll probably like it too.
Damn it. Can I get one person who...
I don't know, are we going to be the only ones that dislike this film? It feels weird.
Apparently we're the only ones that dislike Wheel of Time. Just kidding. Just kidding. So many people hate that.
So many people hate it. That one's...
Oh, it's out tonight
far
too.
more defensive. Yeah, it's out already, actually. We'll get into it. Don't worry.
Please.
Yeah. Oh, man. I just don't want to. We will, but I don't want to watch it.
You don't want to watch it. I'm like a shark. I taste the blood in the water. I want to sink my teeth into it.
I started watching it during lunch break, and you're gonna have some fun with this one. I think.
Like fun in a good way, or like
it's like I'm seeing something that I love just being constantly abused and violated in front of me with each episode now, and it's heartbreaking. Don't make me watch it. I'm making myself. And look, we're doing it for you guys, and we really appreciate that you like us reviewing it.
You see, this is what a hero does. A hero sacrifices his mental stability for you people.
Forget Tom Holland.
Okay, so no, Morley, he had a really interesting take where he broke down the specific lessons that Peter learnt from each film.
Do you remember them? I'd like to hear them.
Well, it'll be on EFAP. Hopefully, Morley, you'll be able to explain it on EFAP, because I felt that's going way too specific. I thought there are broad, basic lessons that should be applying very similar. Like, for instance, when Peter Parker just simply says at the beginning of, like, Infinity War says that if you have the power to do something and it doesn't happen, it's kind of on you.
Civil War.
So, like he says in Civil War, right? He understood that.
Yeah.
Okay, if he understands it, why is he trying to cop out of all these bad things in like Far From Home and is being so like, and so he doesn't like for me the broad lesson of responsibility and acting when you have the capacity, like basically it's choosing not to be selfish and do the right thing when you have the power to help someone. That's the broad lesson that's being, I feel, contextualized in nearly all these movies, and is not learning it.
But taken specifically, this movie was about do everything you can to help insane criminals, even if it completely destroys your life. Even if they're basically dying by their own hand in their own universe, do whatever you can to help them, even though they'll still die, and it will completely destroy your life, and that's good.
So, alright, let's try and steelman it a bit. I understand that for Doc Ock and Green Goblin, he knows that these guys are murderers. They blew up the bridge. Yep. It's really clear that some innocent people got caught in that crossfire and they're dead, okay? And to me, him letting them free out of those cages is indefensibly dumb. I'm astounded. Utterly astounded. So, the reasons that I've been, and the reasons, the justification is that Doctor Strange was going to come back and they needed to get to a safer place, and that therefore the risk of Doctor Strange justified Peter releasing them out of the prison to take them to the apartment. Look, they had some more because they actually discussed about it, like, he's going to come back or something. They actually mentioned it in the film, and for me, that doesn't justify it at all. Especially the insane risk that these are killers. At least two of them are killers. And by context, these other guys, they said they died fighting Spider-Man. What does that kind of mean about them? Like, do you think, Spider-Man was the bad guy in those situations?
It's like, if let's change it, right? Let's change it from Spider-Man to, they died fighting the SWAT.
Yeah. And look, I have not presented the counter-argument properly enough, I'm sorry, because I just don't see it their way, and so it's hard for me to explain it that way, and I really don't want to straw man them, so I do encourage everyone to watch EFAP's discussion. They'll present it probably in a lot more logical way, and you might end up disagreeing with us on some things.
I want to argue with Muller. Our reputations precede each other, Muller. But I'm confident that I can make you, if not, see my way, leave the chat very angry at me.
You will. I reckon you, Muller's great at debate. We had such a good time discussing this, and he's always level-headed, and he discuss it.
Well, here's the thing.
The points.
I'm not
level-headed. By the way, even though that's the thing. Even though I disagree with Muller on this one, I reckon he would win that debate if you had it with him.
I disagree.
He's very good at debating.
I'd want it to be live if that was the case. I disagree completely. Muller, I do love your content. Your content's great, but you're wrong about this. I'm sorry. Everyone has a blind spot, and this is yours. Spider-Man's your blind spot, unfortunately.
No, he can argue his point really well, and he has good references, but even when he was sharing references to me, I couldn't see it. And this was a big one that we discussed quite a bit about the reasoning, and to me, even if Doctor Strange was a risk to come back in this situation, it didn't justify risking Aunt May's lives, the lives of innocent people, taken to an apartment. It was nonsensical beyond belief. If they needed the machine to work out the cures, go get the machine, come back. And the thing is, we do know from greater context that they actually had a vast amount of time. Doctor Strange, he only gets free when Ned accidentally makes a portal and lets him free.
How? How does he actually...
Ned has the ring and is making the portals.
Did you say we need Doctor Strange?
No, but he's trying to make portals to either bring in... what was he doing? He was like...
was he trying to help them escape?
Or trying to get him to escape, exactly.
Because he couldn't close the other one.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? He only gets to see... He only finds Spider-Man because, like, I need to find Peter. Get Spider-Man. Need to find Peter. Get other Spider-Man. You know? Need to go to the Statue of Liberty. Goes there. He doesn't think, where is Doctor Strange? He's in the mirror dimension. Let's get him.
Like, the movie basically says, this is random, like mostly random, and it can do weird.
Oh, it's just a little
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Just shut your brain off for a little bit, guys.
And I really, even the fear, even if Doctor Strange is going to, because he feared as soon as Doctor Strange comes back, is going to off everyone. Okay, send MJ and Ned away with the box. Hide the box. That's the thing that Doctor Strange needs to kill everyone.
Well, but then again, couldn't he just be like...
Not kill everyone, but send the guys
Doctor
back.
Strange just get the ring on and be like, MJ and Ned?
That was also I felt taking him to the apartment would not hide them from Doctor Strange. He can
find
Doctor
people.
Strange, even if the first place he looks is the dungeon, they're not there, I think the very next place he's going to use his magic to find them instantly. I don't think you can hide from Doctor Strange when he has a ring that can basically find people if you just will or think the person.
Yeah.
Because that actually establishes Ned. Ned is just trying to think of a person, and these portals will naturally hone in to the person or type of person you're trying to think of.
And is it really so hard to believe that he couldn't be, okay, magic spell box? You know, if it
well,
works for people,
they kind of established that.
Works for people and places, why not objects?
What do you mean? When you say, couldn't he have made a new magic spell box?
No, like...
just find the magic spell box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If it works for people and places, why not things?
I mean, exactly, because Peter, he also gets teleported off the bridge. I think it's when the Green Goblin's coming in, a teleport just sweeps past him and there. And so Doctor Strange can make teleports really anywhere without knowing their exact location. Just think of person.
Why didn't he just do that for the villains? Kept Spider-Man out of the whole thing.
He can make a magical teleportation magic gun and give it to someone, and you can shoot it and teleport them to X location.
Yeah,
it's like,
or a tree.
Or teleport a tree. This would be a really useful weapon against, I don't know, maybe Thanos or other things.
Yeah.
Like you could teleport him into the sun.
But my point is, right, if he can literally just make a portal underneath someone and grab them instantly, why not just do that with all the villains that were there?
There's a big criticism that they aren't using those portals, and it's established those portals can cut off limbs. They're deadly, okay? And so they're not using those portals, at all. But that's right, Doctor Strange's magic is horrible in this, and so in trying to think of the reasons...
that should be his name, though. Doctor Strange magic.
To me, when I'm looking at it, there is nowhere near enough justification to make it seem like this is anywhere near a good choice to let these psychopathic killers out of their, cells and then take them to where Aunt May is, and it's an apartment building full of innocent people. Are you kidding me? It's just, it's astoundingly dumb. And if they're afraid that Doctor Strange is going to come back, okay, hide the box. That's the box he needs. Send MJ and Ned off. Peter's super strong. He can bring the machine back pretty easily because it's kind of established he needs Doc Ock and Norman Osborn to help him work on the things. And so, okay, maybe let one out at a time. And he says, look, I need to let you out and put you back in. And it's like, oh, you can trust me. Look, you're saying that. You've killed people. You can understand my position. I'm trying to help you, okay? So the fact that I'm not trying to kill you and trying to find a way to save your lives means you could cooperate. And if they're not, that's another massive warning sign that you can't trust them, you moron. Okay. Don't let them out of the cage if they're not going to agree to go back in.
And why they just leave Lizard in the truck outside?
Because he didn't want to come up.
Yeah.
It was
afraid of being
supervillain who wants to turn everyone into lizards.
He supposedly died killing Spider-Man. He'll be fine in a truck.
Well, he actually didn't. He didn't die.
Didn't he die?
No, Spider-Man cured him.
Well, then... Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, so maybe
1.
that's one you could send back and he wouldn't die.
Well, that's the thing. In Amazing Spider-Man 1, they cured him, but he comes back in there still as a lizard. It's weird.
Well, yeah, he comes back. Yeah.
Different time period. Like, again,
Timelines are weird.
Again, it's established taking me out of their time period has not affected the timeline of those universes at all.
Yeah.
And you'd think, like, one, if they knew how evil these people were, you probably wouldn't care too much if they're... But, again, that's their choices. This is their natural progression of their lives and stuff.
Yep.
So there's that argument. I get it. It can be seen as dark from Doctor Strange saying, no, they're going to die. It's just... But if he proposed, and he kind of did, that this is our universe's entire reality is at stake.
Yeah.
Kind of...
Well, and then given the proper context of, and they all died by their own hand.
Yeah, yeah. And so this goes again into Peter Parker's choices. If Doctor Strange actually is contextualizing that the entire universe is at risk, this is Peter Parker saying, I am willing to risk the lives of everyone on the planet, okay, to save the lives of these really suspect guys, 2 have seen flat-out murder and stuff, but that's worth the risk. Like, are you a moron? The
Yes,
lives of everyone?
He is, yeah.
Like, obviously, if anyone's thinking about this properly, they'd probably slow down and say, we need to think about it. Then you might say it was a desperate thing because Doctor Strange was not listening, he was about to do it, and it was an emotional thing, but again, it shows how emotional and illogical this character is. I do kind of like that he is trying to do something good, though. Like, he's trying to save lives. But
And
then...
how effective was it?
Yeah, how well did it work out, right? It's kind of cool him seeing Doctor Strange. I kind of like that, interplay. But Doctor Strange is Doctor Strange should be able to just click his finger and defeat Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
But
Not in this one.
not in this one. His magic can suddenly disrupt reality.
He managed to push him out of his body, and even then he still couldn't grab the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Swim back in.
And then
You're not meant to do
that
that.
did work really well. Once he swims back in, maybe just push him out again.
You know what would have been even cooler if he, in his corporeal form, webbed himself back into his body? That would have been cool. I'd like that. But no, it makes no sense he could get pushed out of his own body and still...
That's an insanely powerful thing that Doctor Strange has. He technically should be able to defeat anyone with it. I mean, if the Ancient One could do that to the Hulk, I'm pretty sure they could have done it with Thanos. But then again, maybe Thanos' Spirit Stone would have protected him, because it affects spirity stuff. Okay, so again, going back to this scene, there are so many other better options, and the fact that he had seen them kill people, it seems like I'm a broken record, but I cannot see any justification for that. Even when I try and look at the defenses and stuff, you're kidding me that you would let these really dangerous villain murderers that you've already had confirmation of out of the cells and then take them to where Aunt May is, and then the apartment building. It's staggering. It breaks the film for me. I'm like, and that's in combination with the parts that you can't argue with that are so bad.
Now, just take it out of the context of superheroes. Would you do this for, a bank robber who's willing to kill people to get money?
That's what I was trying to...
Because that's what Doc Ock is. What about a terrorist who's willing to kill people?
These are worse.
That's what Green Goblin is.
You've seen these people kill people. So this is a legitimate murderer that you're saying effectively, okay, I kind of have a gun to your head, but I need to call someone to do it. So I'm going to give a gun to you. You need to go out of the room. I can only contact you with a phone, and then I'm going to take a mass murdering psychopath out of a cell, let him right near me, take him to my mum, and with the knowledge that he has split personality, could flick at any time.
Yeah, but what could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
He wants to help people.
And the gun is in the other room. You need to call someone and then once they do, snap, you still don't press the button. They just killed Aunt May.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, alright, he goes to stab Goblin with a glider, and Toby stops and says, no, the greater good, and then Peter's just like, but my mum!
But my mum!
Seriously, right, the fact, I can't get over this, I keep bringing it up, because I remember these movies so well. They all died from their own actions. They literally they pressed their own buttons on death.
Except Lizard. Is Lizard the other one?
Lizard didn't die, neither did Sandman. Sandman was like, you know what, I'm sorry that I killed your uncle, can we be good now? And he's like, yeah, sure, I forgive you. And then he went away.
What a noble, uplifting, heroic moment of forgiveness for who killed Uncle Ben.
Yeah, that was awesome. That movie made me cry at the end.
It hits me right in the heart.
And then with Doc Ock, it's like, you know what, Peter, sometimes you got to give up what you really want. And then he goes and dies saving the city.
And then this is the next thing that I couldn't stand in this film. There was a moment in this film where the MCU Spider-Man had a moment where he could have chosen forgiveness over killing.
And he didn't.
He didn't.
And they robbed him of it. Like, I couldn't believe it.
If they just let him stop himself, I would have been like, okay, good point to them.
Yes,
Finally.
But
No.
and the true noble, and this is why I can't, like, this shows the contrast and the deficiencies in the MCU Spider-Man versus the other Spider-Man, because they are the noble ones who know the lesson, they're mature, they went through a thing, and they have to stop this Peter Parker from murdering. Now, the thing is, I actually feel he'll be perfectly justified in murdering the Green Goblin, but Spider-Man as a character is supposed to be more noble.
Yeah.
Okay? Better than us. And guess what? Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Tom Holland, they kind of were that more noble. We see Tobey Maguire forgive the guy that killed Uncle Ben.
We see Andrew Garfield apologise for not being black.
When did he do that?
He's like, I'm sorry. He's like,
Oh, yeah!
I saw a thing on 4chan, right? I saw a thing on 4chan. Someone's like, imagine if the situation reversed.
Okay, yes, that is a woke moment in the film. But I kind of... Who's the guy that plays... this is in the film. This is in the film. Jamie Foxx, he was very charismatic. He was like...
More charismatic than he was...
Than he was in the other one.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big improvement,
He's a bumbling nerd before.
And I kind of like... To me, I was amused by it, because the context of this scene, well, let's spoil it, you should already know, is that when he sees who... the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is like, I always thought you'd be black. But hang on, that also means he didn't know who Peter Parker was! That's an acknowledgement of this film, he didn't know! How did he get pulled into this universe? Oh, come off it!
But also, right, just imagine the situation's reversed. What if a white Electro said to Miles Morales, oh, I thought you'd be white.
And that is disappointed.
I'm sure there's a white Spider-Man out there somewhere.
Yeah, that's pretty racist.
Yeah, that was just trying to nod to Miles Morales, but yeah, I think they could have done a bit more taste.
That was it. You're actually legitimately right. That is a...
And do you know what his reasoning was for thinking he was black?
Because he helped.
You're helping a lot of poor people. Okay, you must be black.
Oh, oof. Just, oof. You're right. That is one I'll definitely acknowledge.
Do you honestly think it's beyond them to put an asylum seeker thing in this now?
Look, the thing is, that's clear and overt, man.
Yeah, and so is other things if you
asylum
learn
one,
to look.
I don't know.
You have to open your third eye, Shad. And yes, it is the third eye.
All right, so that just... So when Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, stops the MCU Spider-Man from... And legitimately, if he didn't stop him, he would have... not murdered, I think it's justified, but he would have legitimately killed. And this just shows in such a depressing way the huge deficiencies of this Spider-Man. He is not a truly noble hero. And they're trying to... isn't it great that this film made him into the adult? Yes, but my problem is that he wasn't that for 3 friggin' movies so far! And I've had to put up with this immature moron who's selfish and emotional and forgets his lessons. It's just...
His morality is completely skewed as well. When times are great, he's like, yeah, we got to save him. But when something bad finally affects him, he's like, kill him! You know? That's not what morality is. Morality is sticking to your principles. Having good principles so they guide you even when you're not thinking straight.
And seriously, you know what the moment would have been so powerful? He goes to do it and stops and he says, I don't even... It's been done before, but it's like, she wouldn't want me to do it. Because look, there was an arc in this film where Aunt May was trying to help him.
Yep.
And it's just, she wouldn't want him to kill him. She would want, and she even says, it's well, not your fault and all that stuff in the end. This is why it frustrates me. Because there was so much potential with the Aunt May arc and everything. Like, finally, they're giving him the push he needs to actually develop something, and then they rob him of it at the end. When it was all there, he could have said, she wouldn't want me to do it. He remembers what she wanted him to do to be better and stuff. But no, because it's so friggin' crap, he couldn't do it, and he just went straight for the kill, and then the better Spider-Man comes in, stops him because they are better.
Then he gets stabbed.
You know what I liked about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man?
What?
He had when they were doing all the serums and stuff, Tobey Maguire gave him some advice like, it gets better, dude. I know Gwen's dead, but it gets better. I was like, I love this little... They're like helping it, because they were good Peter Parkers in that minute doing that stuff. And when he saved MJ, as well, he had that redeeming moment of like, I liked that, man.
I'm just sick of them pausing to cry every 5 minutes.
Him saving MJ, I did like. But again, some of my favourite moments are the other Spider-Man.
Yeah, because it's like, he has a better arc than the other...
Holy crap! the Andrew Garfield one has his own arc where he saves the MJ, and that's a more satisfying arc, even though it's so small than all the other ones with Tom Holland.
He deserves a third movie.
He does!
This is the thing.
Sony, give it to us.
Like,
Tom Holland, no.
I actually Andrew Garfield is a great actor. Go watch Hacksaw Ridge.
Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
So good, right?
True story too.
So good. And I actually really enjoyed the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Look, I know there are issues, massive issues with the story and plot
But it's not Garfield's fault.
It's not Garfield's fault at all. I think he did such a great job. I admit that he was a very cool Peter Parker, and he wasn't nearly as nerdy. And
he was more of a hipster.
Yeah, and stuff. But in terms of him just enjoying the role, and he
was so quippy.
He was so good. He was like, I think he's the best Spider-Man who's played the role so far by a long shot.
He's the best Spider-Man, but we all agree Tobey Maguire best Peter Parker.
Best Peter Parker, yeah,
and
his Peter Parker, this whole Spider-Man is more pure and uplifting.
Yeah.
And he deals, and there's some.
Can we watch those movies, please?
I think we want.
We have to watch them just to see what they are.
I want to watch them with my kids. Actually, it's time my boys see classic Spider-Man.
Can I?
Yes,
I like Spider-Man.
I'll let you. I'm so glad you raised that point with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and so. With with the praise people are giving that scene at the moment, these are the Spider-Man helping this Peter Parker become better. It just made me feel like he can't do it on his own. He was so bad that he needed to be dragged there, and even then he still failed, and he needed to be. It's so disappointing. These are the reasons I really dislike this film.
Yeah.
And it's not just these reasons. There are other ones as well, but these are some of the bigger moments for me.
I will admit though, when you see all the Spider-Mans, swinging around and doing their heroic lands and stuff like that, my inner child was autistically flailing with screams.
Yeah, it was so much fun. That's why a lot of people are gonna love this film.
Yeah.
It's gonna do really, really well. And look, give them credit. This is actually this is genuine and good fan service. It's in good faith, most of it.
The fan service is in good faith.
Thank you for doing that.
And I wonder how hard.
And honestly, that gives me a lot of.
Finish that.
I wonder how hard.
I'm just there.
You need to push through, Nathan.
I wonder how hard it was for them to get those two on.
Oh no, it wouldn't be hard at all. Hey, would you like $5 million? Hell yeah, easy.
I mean, Tobey Maguire, I understand, because all he did was stand there for a bit and just say a few lines. Like, I think Garfield was like, I love this, I can go in the ceiling
Garfield
again.
is so... He loved being Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he one of his things to get the audition was sending pictures of him dressed as Spider-Man as a kid. He felt like a true fan who loved the role.
I think he got robbed from his other
it's
movies.
heartbreaking.
It wasn't his fault.
And this is the thing, again, why this movie frustrated me. It really showed that by watching this film, it just made me want to watch a Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man even more.
Yep.
Because they're so great.
Yeah.
And it just made me don't give me this MCU crap.
But dude, this is what I'm talking about. When I was saying the 007 Bond thing, and by the way, guys, this is because I'm sick of seeing things get rebooted. This is a discussion me and Chad had. I'm sick of seeing things get rebooted over and over again and then failing. I just want them to bring out movies like The Batman, where it's just like, okay, here you go. You already know Batman's origin. We're just going to give you a straight up Batman movie. I want them to do this with Spider-Man and all the Marvel comics.
Yeah, I like more consistent continuity, but I see what you're saying because it's what they did with Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
but I like that that's creating its own continuing continuity.
But the cost of the continuity, the cost of having that awesome beginning and middle and all that, is at the end of it, when certain arcs have wrapped up, you have all this crap left over that we're getting now. That's the cost of it, man.
So, I forget what I was trying to say when I was going to interrupt you, but then I let you go.
Now you know how
it feels, Chad.
No! This is one of the most... I hate when this happens. See what it does to me? It
This
makes
is what
me have a
happens when I
blade.
interrupt.
Yeah, dude, the continuum has been interrupted. Got to get Doctor Strange down here to fix this.
It breaks my brain. You have no idea.
Someone interrupted me.
It's my kryptonite.
How could this happen? Please put your glass on for a sec. This dude make a great Spider-Man, wouldn't he? I think he would. You make great Spider-Man.
I didn't have glasses growing up, and I may have lied on some eye tests, so I would get glasses. Sorry, Mum.
Why?
Because I wanted to be Peter Parker.
You chose to be disabled?
Because I wanted to do the whole... And now I do it, but it's reversed.
You actually do need them now.
Yeah, now I do need them.
Maybe it's because you wore them at a young age.
I thought about... No, it's from all the video games playing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, being close to screens and things. All right. Now I've really...
All my disabilities are inside. Inside.
Well,
Where my soul lives. He knows. He's seen it. Don't nod so hard, you'll break your neck.
And I'm still getting distracted because of something you said. It was like fan service moments.
Don't sweat the small stuff, Shad, you will drown.
I know, it's going to be something really small and inconsequential.
Oh, yeah, I remember what it was, Nathan. I agreed with you.
It's broken me.
you should have just kept going.
Don't do that again.
I would have remembered.
From now on, you say nothing.
I'll just write my piece of paper, put it up for the viewers to see, and Shad can just keep talking for the audience.
No, write them down and let Shad say them. He is the voice.
I really screwed you up, Shad.
Let's get a hammer and just reset it.
Maybe if you just keep talking, it'll come back to you.
No,
Yeah.
it won't.
It won't?
This is one of those, it's like an ear thing. It's like, it's so, I'm autistic in this. It's like, it's so distracting for me. Can't do it. You're looking at me.
I'm not.
What?
Okay,
When we talk, it makes
It's
it call back up.
It's too much pressure. I can't do it under pressure.
Tuning in with us live. His head's going to explode.
I have to move on. Okay, so...
Oh, he let something go.
Yeah, it's hard. No idea. I'm trying to do... All right. Then we've talked about problems, big problems I have that there are defenses for. Mm-hmm. And I acknowledge that they're defenses. I can see that there's a different take, and there are people loving the whole Spider-Man overall arc. Okay, just not me. Okay, unfortunately, I don't want it. So now we go on to there are subjective things, and I know this is wholly subjective. Okay, that make me dislike this even more, and it's because I have and this relates to our Wheel of Time stuff. I have a very strong point of reference to see when Peter Parker Spider-Man has been done phenomenally, and it's the comic book. Some of the not all comic books. I'm not saying they're all great, but there are some awesome arcs. And in terms of the character type of Peter Parker, there are other characters that are more fluid in different iterations in comic books. Fluid in terms of their personality. They can change some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that name means different.
Yeah, right. Peter Parker has a very distinct character type and stuff, and this is the strongest. The MCU Spider-Man is the strongest divergence from it, and I've had big discussions about if it's good or not, and there are debates on EFAP that I've had with Moore because he really liked Far From Home, I didn't, and I also had debates about just the concept of adaptation. And my point has always been is if you have a point of reference to judge it against, okay, that can make something more objectively worse if you have something that you're comparing it against. And even if you're given something that is supposedly good, if it's not the thing that you were wanting, you're not going to be satisfied with it at all. I
disagree. If I have my, low expectations of something and it's good, then I'm doubly surprised.
No, but see, this is where my spaghetti bolognese analogy comes in.
Your spaghetti, what's this one? Oh, is this the pizza pie? Or
No, the spaghetti bolognese. So what it is like, say you go to a restaurant and you order spaghetti bolognese and you really just looking forward to that beautiful spaghetti bolognese and you get given something that looks very much like spaghetti bolognese, but when you eat it, it actually tastes nothing like it.
What does it taste like?
Maybe what if it's made out of icing sugar and it's like a dessert made to look like spaghetti?
Filipinos do that.
Okay, all right. It doesn't matter if the icing sugar was good if I really wanted spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
And I would say, what do you give? I didn't order this.
Yeah.
Give me the spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
And there is absolute validity to compare and complain about being given something that wasn't what it was meant to be.
Yep.
And Spider-Man has a very distinct character type that has been established of who he's meant to be. And this MCU Spider-Man contradicts so many of his fundamental things. Now, some people still think what the MCU has delivered is still good. It's not the same. They don't care about, the other ones. But because I love the Spider-Man and I've tasted what it's actually like, this leaves a massive bitter taste in my mouth because it's a complete in many places, very contradictory to who Spider-Man the character is, and I just feel kind of insulted by it, just by what they're... Not as much as Wheel of Time, because obviously Wheel of Time, there's a big point of reference of the source material and what they're doing to it, and because with Wheel Time, this is a lot of people are going to be introduced to through this adaptation. With Spider-Man, he's been an established character. We've already great movies, so it doesn't affect me as emotionally, but it does affect me. Like, I'm still annoyed that like there was such a good blueprint, but then they say we've already followed the blueprint, but you could have tried in new different ways and not diverge so much and not give us this whiny, immature, very short-sighted, naive, and dumb character, which encapsulates, and it is very consistent because it's been consistent like that throughout, and I dislike it even more. And that is subjective, I do admit. Okay, if you're not so much a fan of classic Spider-Man, I can understand that. I can't lob this against as a objective criticism, but I can say when you compare two properties, you can compare the quality of one to the other, and I always say a hero that shows because there are degrees of likability. Brandon Sanderson has talked about this in his character writing lectures and stuff, and there are certain scales that you can give characters to help their enjoyment as a character, and one of the really important scales is competence. Okay, and if you're going to make a character incompetent, you would want to, one, do it knowingly, because there are humorous incompetent characters, look at Homer Simpson, stuff like that, but incompetence for a hero that's supposed to be saving people is a very difficult, dangerous thing to give him if it's not intentional, for one, and if it's going to make this character cause massive problems that then he needs to fix. Like some of the biggest problems, the whole of Far From Home, and the massive big problem at the end, Peter Parker caused because he did not think it through in giving those glasses proper. Like, he barely knew him. Yes, he was a hero and he saved all these things, but you have only known him for a day. If this has such power, you might want to think it through a bit more before jumping in. Just take the glasses because I can't handle the responsibility. Oh, I hate it. It's such a contradiction of Peter Parker's taking on responsibility. And so the incompetence is very stark. And then in this movie, the last one, major problems are caused by who? Peter once again. It's like, really? It's like this world would be better off without this Tom Holland Spider-Man because it's just causing more problems. Like, seriously, on an objective scale, what good has he actually done? What bad things has he prevented on a large scale compared to the things that he's had to fix because he caused?
What has he fixed?
Like, so the first one is like the first movie is like the early example where he actually, he caused a big problem with the fairy thing. That's, jumping into, but he then did legitimately stop the Vulture at the end. That's like one of the few examples. And then there's the Endgame stuff where he was helping and good that he played, but did he play a major role? No. But in Far From Home and now No Way Home, these are massive. He almost destroys reality. He almost destroyed London by giving the glasses to Thing. Can you see why I'm getting annoyed with this hero when you try and look at it on a large scale, it's hard to even determine if there's a net good to the world? Yeah, he's a great hero. Gosh. And so he is, like, his incompetence, it makes him so frustrating to me and so unlikable. And this isn't charming incompetence or incompetence that is done in a knowing way, that's a character's working well or anything like that. It's making him really, and so this is what I mean about the objective scale. If we wanted to compare Tom Holland Spider-Man to classic Spider-Man, who is competent, who is very clever, who is noble, and that's the other thing, okay, goodness, likability, like, he is selfish, and he legitimately chooses less noble options than what would be the most noble option. Compare that on an objective scale to previous Spider-Man. So even though, is this a subjective taste thing? Well, if we actually compare the two different sources on an objective thing, classic Spider-Man is winning out in orders of magnitude, and when I see these deficiencies, it just makes me dislike this character even more.
When I hear these deficiencies, it just makes me sad. Look what they took from us.
Well, you know what? I think they're going to start giving us stuff now. I think after these three movies, I think this one, this is just another conspiracy of mine. I think after this one, having other Spider-Man and realizing how crappy Tom Holland's is, they've gone, alright, go reset it.
This was a reset attempt.
And so I think you can see from the part where it's like rent's due next month and him not knowing anybody doing anything, I think we're going to start seeing him take responsibility.
I wonder if I will be able to enjoy these films if I pretend the previous three didn't exist.
I hope so. And I hope in the third one...
Because look, nothing against Tom Holland himself. This has all been criticism of the the character, not the actor. I think he's doing the best he can with he can emote, he's like a dramatic actor, and I think he could play a really good Spider-Man. It's the character and the flaws in his progression that has just really been annoying me.
It's not Tom Holland's fault.
No.
Everything's going on. He's a great actor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one other thing, maybe trying to end it on a good note. Did MJ actually...
I liked her a lot more in this one.
I think she came off pretty good in this film.
I hate her in the first one.
I really disliked her in the first one.
Couldn't stand the first one. Second one, she was okay. This
She
one,
got
she was
better,
good.
and so maybe they learned from that and she's
Yep. It
doing
actually
that.
made her, like, open up and warm to Peter, you know, and...
Like an actual girlfriend.
And they acknowledge that this is her personality to be pessimistic and stuff like that.
And she was right, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you expect disappointment, you won't be disappointed.
I thought of you in that.
Yeah, because I literally said that. You know? You climb the mountain of hope, you have much further to fall. I think that's an even better one.
And so, to me, I could have actually been on board with, hey, this might be an interesting take on the Mary Jane archetype if they actually tried to make her reflect Mary Jane. No, I think it's important to try and, when you see an adaptation, you want to see the characters and instantly think that's the character from a comic book. But when you change them visually so much that they're not the same, it's a bit hard to do that.
Yeah, but if you complain about that, you're racist.
Well, see, no, because there are times when they can do it and change the race and make you instantly think of the character.
They always do it to gingers.
Like, I know they do it all the time.
I know,
to
right?
gingers, right? But
We want gingers!
They're just hard to find. Hard to come by.
They're not hard to find. People think I'm ginger. I'm not.
you have some in the beard.
Yeah,
so do I.
only slightly. This is brown.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's darker than both of
Anyways.
your hair colours.
And
Anyway.
yeah, no, I want characters to reflect how they are depicted in the original source material, so when I watch this, I can instantly be immersed that this is whatever it is I'm watching. And sometimes that can happen when they change the race. For instance, I was surprised that when I saw the first Cowboy Bebop was cancelled, now good, it was a crap show.
Goodbye.
We'd have an episode 1 review, right? And it's not good. But in the first promo thing, the character I recognized first as the character from the anime was actually Jet.
Yeah.
And his race was swapped, but I recognized him as the character instantly because apart from the crappy arm, he actually visually really reflected the character quite strongly. And so that I was like, hey, if it makes me instantly think of the character, I can feel immersed. So it's not about race. It's about representing the character accurately, but usually representing them accurately in their appearance is a pretty good start.
If I knew that they weren't doing it for woke points, I
And
wouldn't
so...
care.
because she acted so contrary to Mary Jane, and then they switched her appearance and stuff in the first movie, I've never even felt like this was Mary Jane at all. Mary Jane was a very bubbly, positive, interesting character. Sometimes she has her own arcs, but then she got better, and so I wish I could have actually enjoyed her as a Mary Jane, but she's not Mary Jane. She's just MJ, an MJ.
Yeah.
But
Michelle Jones.
at least she did get better, and but still, like. Again, massive problem in the film. Original Spider-Man would not be pulling in Aunt May or MJ into the actual act of interacting with these crazy...
Yeah, he deliberately separated his life from them because of it.
Yes. And even though Aunt May was actually trying to inject herself in this instance where I want to help, I'll help, it's like, Peter, if Eddie Bray's like, these are superhumans, they're really dangerous. If something goes wrong, at least I have a chance to stop them or protect myself. You don't. Get the hell out of here, woman! I care about you, I love you! Stop putting yourself into harm's way! But in this movie, he actively takes the villains to them and puts them in harm's way. Is this Spider-Man? He would never do that! Oh, I hate it.
I hate it too, man. I love your anger, though. That really
Yeah, that is
fuels
like
me.
a
I
point
love
to
it.
end on. That is...
Okay, that is it. That's our review of No Way Home. As you can tell, no, I did not like it. And the more I think about it, even discussing, hearing people's interesting defenses, and I can see their logic, I hear the arguments, and I can't agree. I don't agree that's because when I see it, I see a clear interpretation that to me is quite stark. And
this is my whole issue with the whole objective thing, because like it's really, really hard to be objective about works of art, whether they're good or bad.
in some instances, it's not.
No, but
I agree what you're saying, but I always like to add that caveat, because sometimes if someone literally presents a pile of garbage as art,
Yeah.
which has been done,
Yeah.
right now,
like I'm not kidding, right? That one's far easier to objectively determine its quality
yeah,
versus something
but
else.
here's the objective part, right? The objective part is I have a chocolate chip turd in my hand, right?
Yeah.
Then people say, no, but objectively, it has chocolate chips in it. But you say, objectively, it has turd in it too.
Yeah.
See? Oh, objectively, you're both right. But subjectively,
It
what if he
depends.
doesn't
It
mind the
depends
turd?
what you're focusing more on, and two, what you're giving more credit to.
Either way, there's some subjectivity to the objectivity.
There is, because like we have been pointing out objective flaws, but I might be subjectively allowing those flaws to impact my enjoyment of the film much greater. And I acknowledge that this is actually something that does happen in my reviews. There are small things that I enjoy so much that I know do not overcome the massive flaws, but because I enjoy it so much, it can actually make me not even notice the flaws at times.
Yep. If that's the case, how objective is it?
Well, you know,
that's my whole point.
At least I'm acknowledging it.
That's why.
I think my attempt to be objective helps me get a little bit closer and a little bit better, because at least I'm trying to see where my biases are.
Yes. Well, I mean, but again, it's like.
But some are indefensible. Like that's why we put some of the flaws that we put out into the indefensible category. These are just flaws. There's no, you know, you can't defend that. Okay.
I just choose not to say objectively bad. I say I don't like it for these reasons. It makes sense for these reasons.
That's fine. But I think there are some criticisms that you can legitimately point out that, separate to my interpretation, this is like it's black and white. Look at the progression. It's pure, it's there. From an outside observer, separate from my bias, you can't interpret it any other way. Then you can class it as an objective, either praise or criticism. I think that's valid when you do that. And the thing is that I think also proves it is, like, look at our Wheel of Time reviews. Not many people have been able to contradict the objective.
Yeah, they just say things like, "Oh, if you don't like it, don't watch it." Well, I mean, I could say the same thing to you, commenter.
Okay.
If you don't like our reviews, don't watch them, or do.
Well, hey, you like.
Please do, actually.
Well, of course we want you to watch this, but don't just like. I like that a lot of people who watch us disagree with us, but they enjoy it. And so, if that's what we can bring to the table, just entertainment, we are very happy to do so. And if you enjoyed No Way Home, I'm glad that you did. I did not.
Yeah, No Way Home, Bray.
So thank you guys for watching, and as always, stay watchful.
Is it stay on watch or stay watchful?
Both. I flick between. What do you think? Do you like stay on watch?
I like both of them, but I want you to pick one.
I'm gonna purposely jump between the two.
You be watching now.
That's awful.
I know it's awful.